Symmetry is a little bit off, just above in the eye corners. Make sure you're not tucking in anything far into the third and fourth quarters on the outside. Other than that, that's pretty good. Perfect symmetry almost. A little bit of trouble on the lip corners, but you had an expression, so sometimes you can get away with asymmetry in the lips and the nose. But other than that, it's a very, very beautiful face. Um, if you want to make it look like she's looking at a specific direction, all you have to do is just cross the eyes just a little bit. So they look like they're focused on one piece because eyes, if they look straight, they're not focused, meaning they're not looking at the same object. Two eyes aren't on the same object focusing and sending that image to your brain. So it'll look like your character is spaced out if the line of sight for both eyes isn't landing on one object. If you want to make your character look like they're looking at one object in the distance, you have to cross the eyes. Other than that, very beautiful face. So before, if you can see the asymmetry, and then after, we just focus the symmetry a little bit. Kind of shrunk the eye as well, so in order to fix the symmetry, so either you enlarge the eyes or shrink the nose. I would enlarge the eyes. Oops. Sorry if you hear beeping, that's just my laundry. Okay. Alright. So that's really all I wanted to do with this one. Just be careful of your symmetry. If you have really, really high realism and you do one small thing, that one small thing is going to be noticeable. Because everything will be pointing to that one small mistake that you made. So it's almost instant when you make mistakes on realistic faces because it does start to take a little bit from the uncanny valley. So just pushing it back toward the symmetry line and focus of everything gravitating towards the symmetry line will sort of take care of that and help you avoid the uncanny valley. This is the character design. I'm not sure I have time for to cover lighting and realism because I've done too much of that. But I'm just gonna, if I have more time, I'll come back to it at the end of the stream. But the foot is really, really small the way you drew it before and really tucked away. You're probably working with a stylistic sketch underneath. Make sure that when you start adding props and adding realism and adding lighting that the stylistic sketch doesn't start to look, again, uncanny. You probably want to keep everything proportional, so some stuff that you may get away with at the sketch stage, you won't get away with when you start shading realistically, because at that point we're taking the character seriously. So you do have some other issues with the symmetry of the face, alignment of the belt over the body, so it seems to be forgetting that there are contours over the body, especially because it's metallic, so a heavy piece, like if you put a ribbon on a rock, the ribbon will take the shape of the rock, so the belt is the ribbon, and the armor plate, the chest plate, is the rock. So at that point you probably want to change the way the belt is wrapping around the chest plate. You need some reflective texture, a little bit more reflective texture, just across here, just so that we can show some hot spots in the lighting. Metallic surfaces have areas where the light is efficiently bouncing off. And those are areas that you have to accent in order for them to read as metallic reflective mirror surfaces. And they all usually just travel in one line across, because that's sort of how the light is traveling on top, just like this. So some minor changes before, after. You're getting a little bit light here as well. You might want to darken that up because it doesn't make any sense that the light is moving in this way and this half of the canvas is lighter if the light is coming from above. So you probably should keep the upper area lighter and the lower area the darker. So this color here should be over. Oh, that's my monitor. Sorry. Is that my monitor or is that me? I mean, is that you? You have the same... Oh, okay, because I'm looking up at my monitor. Okay. Yeah, so you probably just want to darken the bottoms. Just like this. and keep the upper areas lighter. That'll also help to unify the atmosphere, the light atmosphere. You can't just throw any gradient in the back or any solid color in the back. As for this one, the that light is just too bright. I'm going to try to choose a color. I'm not going to throw in gray. I'm going to try to choose a color that might sort of unify the palette but also not be so light. So I'm going to choose from here. Maybe give it a bit more redness. And take away. Okay, there we go. That's sort of helps to bring the grays down. It helps to bring out some values. You see how before everything seems so bright, you can't really, everything gets drowned out. And when you bring in the gray, you sort of see the stairway, the build-up, the spectrum of the values a lot better. Oopsie. What am I doing? Okay, so flatten the image. Alright, so let's get into the critique. Something about this painting, as some of you already noticed, is working. And something about it isn't working. Can anyone tell me what isn't working on this painting? Okay, the lips. What else? Shade of the neck. The shadow's already saturated. The blush, I couldn't manage to have the lips sit right on the face. Eyelashes. Form. Form is really general, but form is somewhere to start, of course. The eyelashes aren't working. So you see, this is stuff that shouldn't be directly noticeable. Redbird, or I'm sorry, what's your name? This head shape. I'm sorry, what's the person's name who drew this? Red Bed Happa? Oh, okay. Red Bed Happa. There's some stuff that is direct, that was working very, very well. The stuff that's working for me are the eyes. You have a very beautiful gaze happening, a very convincing gaze, and a very convincing smirk. The stuff that doesn't work for me doesn't work for anyone else either. Everyone just pointed out all of that stuff. And one of the biggest reasons why some of this isn't working is the function. You don't seem to have any real sort of meditation on the function as you paint. So let me ask you something. Where do the teeth sit in the mouth? Are the teeth always visible? And what is in front of the teeth? Probably a little more inside. Yeah, and how do you show that something is in front of another thing? The lips and shadow. How do you show that something is in front of another object? What happens to that other object? When the light is thrown over an object, that object casts a shadow. Exactly. And so what we're seeing is that the teeth are in the exact same place as the mouth right now because you aren't casting a shadow over the teeth. So if the mouth was on the finish line, so are the teeth. If the lips were here, the teeth are right there from the side. The teeth are just like completely out. It's like they're sharing the exact same space. Maybe a little bump here because you had that light. So that's how you that's what you're missing here. You're missing form in that way. Cast shadows, objects in front of other objects. Meditating on the fact that the eyes have to blink, so the eyes are in front of the eyeball, therefore casting a shadow. I don't see much of a cast shadow. I see some, but it's not really a consistent principle. The other eye doesn't really have it. The lips don't have it. Also, when you have lips that have recently been touched with blood, and altogether, even without blood, tainting the lips or staining the lips, teeth are naturally not white. They actually have a yellow gray to them. So where you are right now, you're in no man's land. And the reason why you're in no man's land is because your background was white. Your background was pushing up all your values. So any areas where you have white, it's too light. Because that's what white was doing to your canvas. It was confusing your spectrum and therefore clouding the function of the objects that you were drawing. So I'm going to throw some red over the teeth, just like that. Instantly that works. It feels so much better instantly. When we have, it's something else that I sort of give my students, advice on, is when you have a specific eye color, like blue or red, sometimes the white of the eyes also gets some of that color in it, even if it's minuscule. The reason why this happens is because our eyes like to blur stuff together and merge stuff together and blend. Our eyeballs blend things when we look at them. So when we're seeing the white of the eye and then we're seeing a color, has pigment to it, and so that color will bleed over into the whites and anything around. So I recommend placing in some of that red. Not only will it unify the palette, but it will bring in that sense of realism as well. Some red on the inner waterline, which will read as a pink after I sort of paint over it. And then after I do that, I'm just going to get sort of desaturated red because I'm still around the lips, and so again everything is going to have that pigmentation, and I'm going to cast a shadow over the teeth just like this. Let me zoom out. Just off the corner of the lips. Very, very little space for illumination will happen on those teeth. Also, tongues are very moist and reflective, so you want to bring in some of that wetness and bumpiness. They look like hellspawn. Tongues are very odd things. I'm also going to bring some of that moisture that's transferred over onto the lips. Just like that. And I'm going to get a darker red for the lip corner because I want to show that the lip recedes. And with that, I'll darken the teeth on the outer corners. So just like that, I'm trying to show that the lips recede into the face. That they don't seem like they're out of, have their own little world and their own little space to exist in. That they're actually connected to the face. And I'm going to let some of that red bleed over the corner. This is also an inconsistent use of red, or an inconsistent rendering of the cheekbones. We're looking directly at her face, and yet her cheekbones are completely different on either side. So that's also standing in the way of the function. Symmetry is function on the face. As I explain a lot, the half of the face is always in a core shadow. In between the eyebrows is a core shadow, and around the forehead is a core shadow. Can't see the video, I had to pop out the stream. Alright, so I'm just going to continue shading that. Sorry that I'm losing some of your texture, you had some nice texture. I'm also going to place in just some of the principal shadows on the light spots on the face, and I'm going to throw in a cast shadow using that same blush because I want to unify. So I want her face to seem like it's sticking out, like it's actually there in 3D space. Also, you don't need these side shadows on the side of the nose bridge. What you do need, though, is to throw in, because the skin is too light. She is pale. We can still keep her paleness by bringing in the value just a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to throw in a little bit of value decrease on the skin tone. And what I'm going to do after that is bring in the high points only where I need them. So the bridge of the nose will look three-dimensional now, but without us drawing the sides of the nose. What's left over from that base that we just threw over is what we'll read. Throw in some shadows on the outer areas of the eyelids, and then thrown down over, because you want to have that sense of deadness on the vampire. So I'm going to throw some on the lower part of the eyes, just like that. And then throw some reflective skin under the eyelids. And then I'm going to get that gray again that I used on the cheekbone and then throw it over the eyeball entirely, because that white of the eyes is way too light. After I do that, I'm just going to throw my cast shadow over. And that'll start reading a lot better. So these are principal shadows, principal lights that come out of the solid understanding of function and form. Also, you don't need to outline the waterline. You have an outline around the waterline. That's really destructive to the function again. You want to render, you don't want to outline. You want to render, meaning you're sacrificing the lines. The lines are pointers. They are obsolete after a certain point because you no longer need them. What you do need is the form that replaces them. So I'm going to decrease the value of that, and increase the reds. And I'm going to continue that shadow around the eyes so the eyes feel a little bit more alive and shaded and shady. And again, you don't need the outline around the reds of the eyes, especially on an albino type. Like, search up albino eyes. You'll see that's very little pigmentation all around. So you can afford to sacrifice that pupil outline. I'm also going to bring in some of that white of the eye and just throw it over the pupil. That really helps to make the eyes feel alive because water raises value levels of anything underneath it. And the eye has water on it. I'll illuminate the inner corner of the eye. This is stuff that I learned from makeup, illuminating the inner corner. It just makes eyes look bigger. Just like that. Again, you're outlining here. There's an outline around the eyelids. You don't need outlines, my friend. I'm going to bring in that shadow again and place it under the eyebrows. The only areas that are being touched by light are going to have light on it. Everything else is going to be framed by cast shadows, just like this, from the hair on the rest of the face, over the eyebrows. Cast shadows over the cheekbones. And you see how much more real it looks because we're casting shadows. When you cast shadows, things come to life. It's just rule of physics. Don't forget it. Also, I recommend tucking in her chin a little bit closer to her neck. So yeah, the neck is a bit muscular for female. It needs to be a little bit more soft. But I recommend tucking in, pushing down her nose, and pushing down her eyes this way so it feels like she's kind of tucked her head in just a little bit, her chin into her neck, just kind of looking up. And then now we can sort of start making her smile because now we have that tilt. And then one eye can be more squinted than the other. The way to make one eye squinted is if the lower eye blinks, it'll be exposed to more light. So it'll have a deeper crease. Not a deeper crease, less of a deep crease. And the iris will be hidden. So we're getting rid of lines and replacing it with cast shadows and form and edges. And that's what brings something to life. Place some more red at the top over here. And another shadow in between the eyebrows, because she's tucking her head in, it'll cast a shadow. So do you see how now she's more bending her head down? I'm also going to decrease the saturation on her lips because it's a bit too bright. Again, that was the white from earlier. Is everybody paying attention? Color of the shadows, I have a skin tutorial video on it. Have you seen it yet? I really just explain how to get skin tone shadows. It's you have to have the right base first, and then once you get the right base, becomes really easy to know how to shift your mouse, and you have to shift it on a curve. I really explain all of that in there. I don't have time to explain it all today, but you have to have a good, you have to make sure the saturation isn't lost when you choose your shadow color. So there's a video that the how to paint skin remastered, how to paint skin realistically. It's in there. The shadow you chose is pretty good too. I mean, it wasn't that bad. I'm also going to desaturate the hair in any places where light isn't touching, because the hair can't be saturated all around. So I'm going to desaturate around it. And only leave it for the areas where the light is touching. So it still has that dead look, but it's also still fair. She also looks fair still. I like the texture for the hair. It's very Castlevania. This whole painting is very Castlevania. Very, very nice. Just continuing these cast shadows, making sure all the shadows have the same value or the same color. You don't want to use a different shadow color for different parts of the face. You want to make it look like it's the same face, right? So you're going to have to use the same shadow. Just keeping the consistency and symmetry. Also, over here, you don't need to outline for the nostril. All you have to do is just create edges. So the nostril will have its color, and it won't blend with the color of anything around it. And that's because it's a nostril, and it's not the cheek. You also might want to add in something like that, because of the way she's smiling. That'll give us more of a sinister expression out of her. Just that little cheek bend, do you see? Don't just go in and draw a line, because that'll just make her look old. Don't do that. It's a very, very soft, very wide stroke. Dex, you might still have time to submit something. I have, this is the only one right now. Actually, I do not like that. And I'm going to cast a bigger shadow on the eyeballs. And cast in a little bit more shadow under the eyelashes. And I want to sort of dip the chin in a deeper in a deeper core shadow. And some of the cheekbones over here, I mean the lip will jump out of that cast shadow, or the core shadow of the face. And I just want to illuminate some areas like the jawline over here. She looks very bony, kind of anorexic because she's a vampire. Nose still doesn't read enough for me. Dex, you can link me here. I'm going to carry some of that blood from her nose onto the rest of her face because she's licking something, so there has to be enough of that something for it to read. And also blood isn't just bright, it's also dark. So you want to bring down the value of that red just a little bit. So it's a little bit more realistic. I'm just going to sharpen. Also, one last little trick, same thing with the eyes, how I made the eyeballs a little bit more red. I'll make them a little bit more red because I kind of painted it away. But you can do the same thing for the corners of the lips or the edges of the lips. You bring some of that red in, and if you want to make the lips look like they belong to the face, you kind of let it bleed out a little bit. So you don't paint within the lines, paint outside of the lines. And that'll make the lips look like they belong to the face a little bit better. So before it was kind of a sharp edge, like the lips were like a sticker. But now they seem to be a little bit more, you guys didn't hear what I just did, right? Yeah, the lashes should be behind the hair. Kind of sneezed and coughed. Did you guys hear it? I muted. Please tell me that I muted. You guys didn't hear anything? No? Correggio, you liar. No? Okay, good. Okay. Sorry, I'm just like a really sick person. So I'm going to place that lash. Thank you, Kuro. Pointing that out. It will not extend that far. And as for the lower lashes, you only need so much, just a hint of their presence. They shouldn't be spider legs. They shouldn't be there demanding attention. This nostril here. There. Okay, so ready for the before and after? Actually, flatten image. Deselect, filter, sharpen, unsharp mask. Right. Alright, so before, very plain face expression. After, the cast shadows made it come to life. And this is all the stuff that I'm always teaching. Kind of tilted her eyes inward, tilted her nose down as if she's tucking her head in. Took away from that excessive neck shading. Yeah, the sinister is what the cast shadows did. It's if you're a photographer and you want to make someone look sinister, you're going to cast some long shadows. So her hair casts a shadow on her face, her nose casts a shadow on her face, her eyelids cast a shadow on her eyeball, her mouth casts a shadow on her teeth, and you're forgetting all of that. Yeah, you're allowed to say that. She's much hotter. Because she's got that evil sex appeal vampire look now. So the teeth still are there. They're still visible. Teeth can look like that in real life, but now we've made them follow form rules. The shadow in between the eyes on the top of the nose. Shadows, of course, are important. Of course, shadows are important. They are why we are seeing this object. They're a result of the light. So if you guys think about the light source, you're always going to create that next level of realism. If you want to do the lower body as well, all you have to do is just throw some basic light. And take that same shadow you have on the face and just throw it under the neck. or on the neck, under the sponge to saturate. I don't want her to look like she's alive. That's all you really need for the neck. You don't need much. Some shadows under here and some shadows on the chest. I mean light on the chest. You don't need to outline. You're still depending on your outlines. If you want like a diagnosis of where you are right now in your art journey, you depend on outlines too much. Outlines are important to you still. They shouldn't be. You should know how to get rid of an outline by now. What that's sort of mean of me to say, because it's like, what's by now? You know, everyone has their own different level. But what I mean by now is that look at how you shaded the eyelids. I see shadows there. I see you starting to get a sense for form. The way you have the eyelid, the way you drew the eyes, the way you cast a shadow from the eye, the way you structured the upper eye area. This is my favorite part that you did. So if you're ready to do this, why do you still have outlines around the nostrils, outlines around the nose, outlining around the lips, or depending on the darkness of the lips for the lips to feel rendered? You have cast shadows that can really help you render the object a lot better. So I hope that sort of helped. Any questions? I understand what you mean. Okay. Do you have any questions, Robed? So this is your moment. You can ask me anything. I watched through my old paintings 2 weeks. It makes you see how far you've come so far. It's kind of cool and also embarrassing to see how shit we are at the start. Her number? You want her number? Transform outlines into edges. Exactly. With the use of light. Don't forget that clause as well. It's an important clause. Hello, Panman. Welcome everyone who just came in who I didn't welcome before. Any questions at all, Robed? I kind of rushed through today. I don't know why. I think I'm just because I'm sick or something. Whoopsie, whoopsie. I think you covered absolutely. I think you absolutely covered everything I could have thought of. Okay, I'm not sure I did, but I'm happy that you feel satisfied. Hello, Dex. Hello, Ulo. I mean, I already said hello to Dex. Dex linked an image above. Don't write anything until I can retrieve it. No! When you guys write stuff, I can't. Where's my mouse? My mouse has disappeared. Oh, it's out of battery. Oh, no, it didn't. Oh, there it is. What the fuck? Stop writing! Link me again, Dex. Oh, yeah, it is out of battery. Son of a bitch. I use my stupid pen tool. OC ate it? Yeah, OC ate it. Oh, no. Guys! I can't. This stupid chat goes down whenever someone talks. They really need to work on their chat box. Fucking live stream. You mind checking my piece? Not at all. Send it away. Send it away, baby. That was your website music. How do you stop it? Beware, Ista. I know, I'm sorry. I did not know we were gonna get ambushed. So there's that. Okay. Maxine Caulfield. Okay. Here's one of my digital stuff. Who else wanted to send me something? Just Dex, right? Sarah has one? Send away. Okay, so for this, your character looks a little bit like a 3D model in a game that isn't really well rendered. What that means is that they don't have enough like expressions. It looks very stiff expression-wise. You know those stiff NPCs that talk and move their hands like Barbies? What I'm going to do is I'm just going to give her a little bit of organic asymmetry, some beauty symmetry on the nose and organic asymmetry on the face. Just like that. Tuck in her neck. I'm going to shrink her eyes. Actually, before I do that. I mean tuck in her chin. What do I say that? Her lips. I'm also going to shrink her eyes because at this point they're starting to look very, again, very NPC-like. They're also very asymmetrical. So what I'm doing here is what I'm going to do in a second is I'm going to cast some light over the eyelid. So you see before the liquefy, very stiff 3D model. And after, kind of shrink the eyes, brought in a little bit more realistic structure to the proportions. And now I'm just going to throw some lights on all the light signifiers of the face that have to be lit up. So cheekbones, nose, sides of the lip, sides of the cheeks. And if her face is sort of bending away from the light, she'll have a cast shadow on it. And so what that will look like is like this. Me like this. Sorry. I'm going to put it on multiply. Yeah, multiply. Decrease the opacity, and I'm just going to erase away at the form of the face. Just like that. Okay, so I'm casting a shadow right now, and that'll bring in some light consistency, which is really important. I don't even know where I got "you mean like this" from. I don't even know who I'm imitating. I think it was like some show or something. I just always say it's very funny. I think it's funny. Alright, so you've got some, I don't know if it's like stray brush strokes. D-Tricks? Who's that? Is he Nigga Higga's friend? 57. Right, so what I'm going to do is under all these shadows, I'm going to create a consistent shadow. And Nigga Higga. A consistent color. Because you have some stray lights and stray lots of stuff under on the skin here. I'm also going to throw some on the nostril. Maybe you were trying to be painterly, but it wasn't really working because you were just throwing, again, stray brush strokes that weren't really reading. I'm going to throw some of this red eyelid color over the eyes because their eyes are a little bit too open and they don't really have a very human expression to them. And so now that the eyelids are kind of over the face, she feels a little bit more human, I guess I can say again. Of course, we need the outlines of the lashes and the shadows. Just like that, and bring down the whites of the eyes. And illuminate the pupils just a little bit. Some light under the eyebrows, just like that. And everything pretty much gets darker the deeper you go under the hair. So you see what's happening now? We're unifying the skin tones. The chin is a completely different color, by the way. It's a very green-based flesh tone where everything else is red-based flesh tone. So I literally just got a color layer and just adjusted that. So remember, half the face, if you're in Rembrandt lighting, is always going to be in a core shadow. And so from the nose down is all dark, and the only relief points are the chin and the upper lip. Just like that. You also have a cast shadow from the nose as well, sort of carrying off into the face. You might have some light under the lower eyelid, or on the lower eyelid, sorry. No. Okay, so do you see what I'm doing here? I'm unifying the colors and unifying the shadows. Before, what you had was a little bit confused. And I'm throwing a big sort of illumination to show that there's an intense amount of light over her head, and that's why we have a cast shadow there. And then this shadow of her head that you've cast over the rest of the body, the relief points of that will be collarbones. And the collarbones, like, let me go into liquify first. You got this weird bump happening on the shoulder, so I have to fix that. And the collarbones that you've placed are a little bit lopsided, so the way to render collarbones in this case is to just get some light and place them on the top. People overrate collarbone rendering. They kind of outline them and overdo them, and you don't really need all that because it's just a high point among a bunch of midtones. So you just got to get the high point and just throw it over that midtone color and you're set. Same with the tops of the shoulders. They're going to be a little lit. And I want to place in some of that light on the body over the rest of the face. Just like that. Those whites that you have on the lips, too light. See? Okay. Carrying down. Trying to keep the palette sort of, or the spectrum, the grayscale spectrum, consistent, making sure that the nose is the lightest, the cheeks are the second, everything else just moves down in contrast. Okay, so now she feels a little bit more human to me, less stiff. So let's take a look at the before and after. Before, after. So NPCs, the reason why I said she feels like an NPC is because in games, when you have those important, NPC people that you talk to and they give you a mission or whatever, they usually just never blink and their eyes are like always open. And they're really just, hi. They just seem really weird to me. So that's because they don't really have any emotion or vulnerability or weakness in their facial expression. You want to show some weakness in the facial expression so that you create a more human-looking character. So after, she kind of looks like, a deep in thought kind of girl that follows no one's rules. That's kind of a nice little combating of personality traits. So you've got, the brat, but you've also got the beauty, but you've also got the human weakness, and that's important. So here it looks like an NPC. Hi, can you find my dog? I'll give you a sniper rifle if you find my dog. Why? I just have one. And now she looks more like an illustration of a character. A lot of new faces. Thank you everyone for signing in. If you weren't signed in before, thank you. And those who haven't signed in, stop lurking and sign in so we can thank you as well for coming in. The next class is going to be on Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. And they're always Tuesdays and Thursdays at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, if anyone is interested. So thanks again, everyone. Bye-bye.